Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program may contain adult content and is intended for mature audiences only.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The arguments begin now.
Good afternoon. Are you there, Dale?
I'm here.
Oh, cool. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Art of Argument. I've got to make a little bit of a disclaimer here in the beginning, just so there's no misunderstandings. Dale and I have known each other for a long time. It's probably been, 25 years at least, huh?
Yes.
And because of that fact, we always harangue each other and we always argue with each other. It's just the way it is. It's always been that way with him and I, even in the beginning when he first met my daughter. Anyway, I got to shorten that up a little bit. I don't know why this isn't saving the settings.
Hey, it makes my head look skinnier, so.
I won't even go there.
I'm losing weight. Oh, what? You think I have a big head? Come on, say it. Say it.
I wasn't going to say you got a fat head, but I guess that's the way it came out.
What we're here for.
Anyway, to make a long story short, Dale and I have known each other for a long time. He's probably the only one of about 2 or 3 people that I'd even think about arguing about politics with, just because we've known each other for so long. We argue about politics. We argue about football. We argue about our own football teams. There's all kinds of stuff that him and I don't see eye to eye on for the most part, but it doesn't matter. We're in-laws, or he's my son-in-law, and I'm his father-in-law, and he should have respect for me, but he don't. But but anyway, that being said, I will not, and I repeat this, I will not argue in shows or any other thing other than this particular show. I will not argue politics with anyone. I have my own opinion about the stuff. You have your own opinion about the stuff. I respect your opinion. You should respect mine, and that's all I ask. Okay, now, let's get into some fun. What are we going to talk about first, Dale?
My first question to you would be, now, you as the labor union toting Democrat that you've been for 900 million years, since back in the Stone Age, do you actually, whether you like Trump or not, do you actually feel this was a fair trial? And if so, tell me why.
I don't know. I think politically, I don't think it was that fair. But the whole thing comes down to and is away from politics. You had 12 people that were not supposed to be influenced by anybody, that said they would not be influenced by anybody, that listened to the evidence and convicted him. That being said, that was the American justice system right there. It has nothing to do with soda. It has nothing to do with the politics or anything like that. One of those those soda judges came out. What I'm talking about is the Supreme Court. One of those judges came out and said, "Oh, it was the worst trial I have ever seen. It was so unfair." That's not for him to say. 12 people convicted that sumbitch, and 12 people said, "I don't believe what he's saying," and that's it. Period. Now, you can throw all the fucking politics in this that you want to, and I'm going to let it fly because this is just the way I look at this. You can take and let all the politics in here that you want. It ain't going to make one iota difference because 12 people convicted him. 12 people didn't buy his crap, and 12 people said he was guilty. Now answer me that.
Okay, well, let's just say I'm going to go down the rabbit hole you just challenged me to go down. And not bring any politics in it, but yes, of course, that's what we're about to do. Okay? Now, here we have a group of people. Now, the head of the DO, or the New York, whatever the hell you call it, he's Manhattan's district attorney. He's Democrat in his first term. Now, he's also oversaw other cases against Trump, so obviously you don't like him. So he's been already doing
that
things.
Doesn't mean just because he's overseen.
You have the two top people on the prosecution team. Okay, first off, we had two guys just decide to step down that were the top of Manhattan's office. They said, "Oh well, we didn't feel that Alvin Bragg was going to go further on this case enough, and we wanted to go after Trump, so we're leaving." Okay, so poof, in we bring Matthew Colangelo and Susan Hoffinger. Okay, that's your two lead people. Matthew Colangelo, former high-ranking Justice Department official for the it was either Obama or the Biden administration, that also previously worked on a case against Trump. He was paid $12,000 by the Democratic Committee for a political consulting fee. He's also donated to almost every Democrat's campaign, including Obama. Now you got Hoffinger. She's she left her private practice of over 20 years just so she could come after Trump. Also donated to Biden in 2020. So now we have all these anti-Trump people coming together in New York for one cause and one cause only, to see if they can figure something out. Now we can get to the judge, Juan Merchant. Let's take it one step further. Okay. He also presided over another case with Trump. He's doing a case over border wall fraud against a Trump quote unquote ally. He was asked to step aside from the case, to exclude himself. And reason being, let me find it here. He's also made donations to Resisting the Republican Party and the Donald Trump's right-wing legacy group. Really? Now, so he has no bias. This is who he's donating money to. Let's do away with Trump. Let's get rid of Trump in the Republican Party. But hey, nothing to see here. Matter of fact, he was reprimanded for doing that because, according to New York law, that is illegal for judges to make campaign contributions. Or political contributions, excuse me. And so when he asked, should I excuse myself? Of course, all these freaking Democrats there in New York, 85%, by the way, in the Manhattan district, say, nothing to see here. You can be impartial. Then let's talk about the guy's freaking daughter. Where did that go? Oh, that's over here. She was a Democratic political consultant. She was also used to prep Michael Cohen for his testimony during the prosecution. She's worked for Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Adam Schiff, and has made multiple contributions to other Democratic campaigns. Now, nothing to see here. It was fair and impartial. So you got a judge that anytime the defense or anybody makes a motion, he can decide whether to let it go or not. So, what happens? The defense says, hey, this ain't right. We should do this. Oh, no. Hey, I'll allow it. Nothing to see here. They take one of the defense's best witnesses that they had and tell them, nope, not allowed to be a witness. Sorry, can't be here. I mean, come on. Now, I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. But you have this chain of events coming together that's already starting to paint a really bad picture. You also had your Judge Merchant here, which now you want to talk about how the media likes to kind of hide things under the carpet. I clearly remember watching on the news about this judge coming out before the trial started and flat out saying this man is guilty. He is guilty of every single charge. He's flat out guilty. Now, he's putting this out for everybody. And I'm guessing that those 12 jurors live under a rock and they never heard any of this shit. Never heard anything. But yet, hey, nothing to see here. That was okay. The man wasn't even in a trial yet. And he's already convicted the damn guy. So how do you think that judge is going to lean as the case unfolds? Then you look at the closing arguments. The way he worded the closing arguments were nothing more than a roadmap to help them convict this guy. And then I'm getting long-winded, so I'm going to shut up and let you talk. There's more to it, and I'll get back into that later.
As far as a roadmap, you don't think, say this was a separate, say this wasn't Trump. And don't you think that some of the stuff that you mentioned, I don't agree with the judge coming out and saying this guy's guilty. Was it the judge, the presiding judge? I didn't catch that much of that.
Yes.
Then he should have recused himself, and that would have been the end of it. But
exactly.
Some of that stuff, they're going to appeal this thing anyway.
What's funny is I remember seeing that 18 to 20 times. Now, what do you say? I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning last night trying to find video of that so that I could quote him word for word and, at least have my facts straight. You can't find nothing. You can't get anywhere near it. All the stuff up there is the different news companies talking about what a great, impartial, beautiful judge he is and all this other good shit.
I don't buy any of this shit anyway.
And you can't even find it.
Let's bring this down to brass tacks.
Election interference.
Let's bring this down to brass tacks. As far as this trial is concerned, it doesn't mean shit. Somebody in one of the Facebook groups, I poked the bear with her. I'll admit that. She had
the young lady we've discussed before.
Yeah, she took and she didn't say a word. And I waited because I knew she had to be steaming, and she took and I said, "What? No comment? Question mark? Just poking a bear a little bit, poking a bear." And she come back with, "I'd probably end up in jail." And she said, I said, it seems kind of tempting, doesn't it? And she came back with, well, it's not going to be funny after November 5th. And I said, and this is the way I look at a lot of this crap that's been going on. I have just completely given up on the media. I try to be fair and impartial myself as much as I can. I'm biased. I would be the first to admit that on some things. As far as this political crap, I hate politics. I've hated politics since I was young, and I'll hate them till the day I'm gone. But the whole thing comes down to is I'm not really, I don't care what the outcome of the election, what the election brings us. November 5th, whatever, I don't care. What I want to see is the American justice system working fairly. If he's accused of something, and I'm not talking about the politics shit here. I'm not talking about, the judge was impartial, it was all rigged, it was all rigged, it was all rigged. Okay, it's rigged. So I want to see that portion of the American justice system, which is about that big, come out and actually work like it did with that verdict. You cannot... No, don't start with me. Let me finish. You can tell me all you want to about this bullshit, about how the judges were and whatever. This is all going to go through appeal. And when it goes through appeal, it's not going to be the same as it would be at the end of this trial. They're going to sentence him, but it'll go through the appeals process before anything comes out of it anyway. But what I want to say, I don't care what the results of the elections was. I want to see the American justice system work. And it did. You can't tell me that it didn't work for the most part. Those 12 people that were on that jury were not, and you can say the judge influenced them or whatever, but they actually took that case piece by piece and said, he's guilty of this, he's guilty of this, and the evidence showed that he was guilty of this. Answer that.
I can answer that very easily. Because that's what I said. I told you I was getting a little winded, so I wanted to hold some shit off. You just cracked open the door for me. And guess what? I'm about to walk in. So you're familiar with the Sixth Amendment, right? The Sixth Amendment, somewhere in there, tells us that not only are you allowed to be told who your accusers are, but you're able to be told what you're accused of. Okay? Now, take a step back. All the charges that were against him are misdemeanors, which were past the statute of limitations. Okay. Unless you can wrap a second crime in there. So basically what they're saying is you committed this crime with paperwork to conceal another crime. Okay?
And that's what he did.
But in the indictment and in anything, that second crime that he committed has never been listed. It's not there. It's not in any of the documents, nothing. So they're saying, well, we're going to charge him with the first degree here because he was doing this to cover up another crime. But hey, we can't tell you what that crime is. So then when
I don't think he'd want him to tell him what the crime was.
The judge tells them on the first charge, the actual charge of the falsifying documents or whatever, you have to be unanimous on. But the charge of covering up a crime, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be something else. Now, you guys don't have to be unanimous on this. You just have to agree that there was possibly a second crime committed. Now, what was the man accused of? He still has not been properly accused. Now, that is just a whole evidentiary thing that the case should have been sent back as soon as they read these papers. How can you put a ghost crime on there? I'm going to turn this misdemeanor into a felony over a ghost crime. A crime that I can't tell you was committed, and I can't tell you what the crime is, but by golly, we're going to get him for felonies because of what your opinion might be at the time.
Dale.
Which, hey, whether he's guilty or not, we're looking at the trial.
You really want the media to come out and say that he was promoting prostitution?
Oh, actually, no, that's not what they actually
pretty
say.
much what he did. I don't care what they're saying he did.
He said he broke federal election laws. Now,
well, he did.
But see, in the state of New York, you have to couple a state law with a state crime. It has to be state stuff. You can't mix in federal charges with a state charge, which that's why they say this is so unprecedented. That's what they're trying to do. So the lawyers will tell you that, well, this is what we think he did, but we're not going to say that that's what he did because we're just going to let these jurors make up their own opinion. Outwardly, they'll say they thought it was that, but technically speaking, under New York law, you can't do what they're trying to do. So how did this case even proceed? And meanwhile, you got crackheads and you got Biden doing the same thing that Trump was charged for in another case. And they say, oh, he's just old and senile. We can't prosecute.
No, they didn't prosecute
Even though
Trump on
he
those.
did wrong and he's guilty, we're not going to do nothing because he's old and senile. He's the fucking president. So we have an old senile president.
And you got an old senile. You got an old senile ex-president too. You think he's got all his marbles?
Got a hell of a lot more marbles than the other one, Chucker.
Okay, that guy's lost. He is so.
Can't even walk up a set of stairs.
He is so tied into trying to
Gypsy's pants.
Convince people that they're not living right, and that they're living under a complete mess. It's a complete mess. Well, statistically, go back and look at some of the stuff. You may not agree with me on this, and I don't expect you to, but statistically, things haven't changed much since Trump left office, as far as the way people live, as far as the unemployment rate and stuff like that. In fact, hell, Biden's employment rate, unemployment went down. Yeah.
Well, sure. Once you take the money away from everybody, after God knows how many years. Hey, well, we both have to admit COVID was right there in the middle of Trump and Biden.
Well, he was.
Trump caught the beginning of COVID. Biden caught the end of COVID. And that is going to tend to make Biden look a little bit better because, yes, of course, at the end of that, people are going back to work, whereas people were told they couldn't leave their homes because of Dr. Fauci.
People in the beginning of Trump's campaign, before everything went to the absolute shitter with him. Let me admit something here. I liked Trump in the beginning. I thought he was doing a hell of a job when he was bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. He was doing a hell of a job with that.
Thank you.
But what happened to it? He blew it right out of his ass. He took it just ended. There was no more. And all of a sudden, COVID comes along, and let's blame all this stuff on COVID. And let's take and give millions and billions and trillions of dollars away for COVID. Yeah, let's all get on the COVID bandwagon. Well, I'm going to tell you something, right? As far as this COVID shit, they've been looking since, oh crap, I can't remember when it started. It started with the bird flu. Oh, we're going to have a bird flu epidemic. It's going to be terrible. And 4 fucking cases. Oh, the mosquitoes. Don't let the mosquitoes bite you. They're terrible. We're going to have an epidemic of this. You had 5 cases. And then all of a sudden this COVID thing comes along. And actually, it was more propaganda than it was anything else. I mean, we both know that. And the propaganda just spread. And, yeah, I think back at the beginning of the COVID stuff. Now, if you lost a relative or something like that to this stuff, you have my condolences. Because I think there was something to that. Was it as bad as what they wanted everybody to believe? Was it bad enough to force people into getting these shots that they had no idea what they were going to do? That's the whole thing. As far as the COVID stuff goes, I'm kind of, I wasn't about to take that 2-shot thing that they had out when they first come out with that thing to kill or to keep you from getting it. I was not about to take that. When they came out with the other one, it was 1 shot and you were done, supposedly. And now all of a sudden, we started looking at stuff, and all of a sudden it just, we're going to need to give you a booster. Not me. Not me. I won't do it. I'll take and suffer the effects or whatever. I want nothing to do with that. As far as the political world and that around us, it changed dramatically, but I think part of this was just the government trying to overreact to it, and that the person that started it on its trail, and where most of the money came out at to put this country in a financial situation that it's never been in, was your ex-vice president or your ex-president. You look at the stuff he did, right? Taking and telling everybody, "Oh, I'm going to go get the shots. I'm going to take and go get the horse pills," and whatever. And it's the way it worked. But when it comes down to it, I've said this for the last 30 years, and it always comes down on election day, when you go to vote and you vote your conscience, good luck with that, because one's just as bad as the other. I don't care what they say about Biden. I don't care about what they say about Trump. One is just as bad as the other, and they're just about the same age. And what do you think's going to happen in 4 years? With he better have a good vice president if he gets in there, somebody that'll take the country by the reins. Because if he doesn't, we're up a shit creek without a paddle. Thoughts?
We're already there. Oh well, the thoughts. I'm gonna go back to the trial again. Okay, it's just another facting point that once again, it's the stuff that's not put out on the news because nobody wants to talk about this shit, and we're throwing these blinders over, the American public's eyes about how these different things have been taken care of. Now, when you have a court case, now normally the prosecution gives their case, and then you defend yourself, correct?
For the most part.
Okay, now riddle me this, Batman. Why did the defense have to go first in this trial? How do you defend yourself when you don't even know what you're defending yourself against yet?
The prosecution went first. It was prosecution, then the defense. At least as far as the witnesses go.
They made the defense go first.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
I don't agree with you. I thought from what...
And I got that from a Democratic news source. Don't remember what it was. Unfortunately, I didn't write it down. It was like 3 a.m. But yeah, so right already there, that doesn't make sense. I mean, why all of a sudden we're going to turn things upside down? I can play you the audio. This came from a guy that was in the courtroom. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make sense. And then, we already went into there. So, and then you got, okay, they said, your prosecutor said that the American people were defrauded because they believed Donald Trump was some kind of virgin. Really? I mean, so the prosecutors allege, this is what they're saying, is that if the stuff about Stormy Daniels would have came out, that he never would have been elected. Now, wait a minute. The whole damn world didn't already know that Donald Trump was a playboy?
No.
I mean, you got Clinton getting blowjobs in the Oval Office. And don't get me wrong.
Hit the stop button.
If I get a blowjob in the Oval Office, I don't care if I'm president or not. I'm getting it. Okay. So I stuck up for Bill Clinton because that has nothing to do with your job as president. So this guy, let's just say that Trump was cheating on his wife and out there getting some ass. Everybody already knew that because it was all over the news. And anytime he made a comment 27 years beforehand, that was put on the news. So everybody already knew he was a playboy. So
what about
hiding Stormy Daniels? What was that doing for him? That was not changing people's opinion about him. Oh, hey, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, but if I find out he had sex with one more woman, I'm not going to vote for him. Bullshit.
Let's stop for a second. Stop for a second. What about let's think back to that first election. I think it was the first one where the tape had come out that had his voice saying, "You got to play with women's pussies, and you got to tickle them and all this other." He was describing to another supposed friend, and it got recorded. And they blasted that stuff all over the place trying to keep him from
That's what I'm saying. So people didn't already know he was a playboy?
Now, how does your wife feel about that? We're men. I mean,
right.
Let's face it, we're both men. At least I think you are.
Only when she lets me.
Well, geez. Do you have those what the hell? Hang on a second. I fixed that. Sorry about that. Sorry about the interruption here, folks. When it comes down to, being we're both men, and if your wife heard something like that, and I've asked her about this once before, so I know what her answer would be. If she overheard something like that, or if she heard something like that, Would that have influenced her opinion of that guy, and would she still vote for him?
Well, my first option to say would be I would ask her, because that's actually nothing we've ever discussed. But what I can tell you is, when all this stuff was coming out, like that thing where they were Trump and somebody else were walking into a bus. I don't know if that's the same instance you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Obviously, she heard about it. She watches the news. She watches TV. So she heard all this stuff. And she still voted for him. So I am going to say that she probably would feel that, yeah, he's an asshole. And I don't agree with the way he talks about women. But that has nothing to do with running a country, a business, anything. That's just like me. I'm an asshole. Okay, but
and we all know that.
If I'm
would we vote
chef,
for you?
If I'm the chef somewhere, I'm a different person because I have to communicate with many people. But on the sly, am I the same dog talking trash that most other men do? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right at all. But it has nothing to do with the job. And I think that would probably
actually it does.
Her opinion was.
Actually it does, because especially that particular job, because you might be dealing with women's rights. You might be dealing with the right to for women to do certain things and have certain things in their lives. You can't say that it doesn't affect the job, because it does.
Well, but you have to understand, as a guy...
The thing I don't understand, and I haven't ever understood about Trump, is how he could take and be so pro religion, I guess you could say, and then do the stuff that he does. In one breath, he's saying, "Well, we got to stop abortion. I got to get people in the Supreme Court that'll stop that." And then he takes and goes and rents a prostitute with somebody like Stormy Daniels.
She was a porn star. She wasn't a prostitute.
She's a pro.
Well, but she's not a prostitute. He probably didn't pay for that shit.
Oh, he did. He paid for it.
I mean, she probably had.
That's what the six.
Well, he's paying for it now.
That's what the 6 checks were about.
Well, it wasn't paying her. It was paying her to keep her mouth shut, allegedly. But the fact.
You think she'd do that for? You think she'd do him for nothing?
If he never would have ran for president, that's funny. Stormy never would have said a word. Stormy never would have said a word. She's had more cocks in her than Carter got little liver pills. Okay? She's a porn star. That's what she does.
Do you think she would have done him for free? Deal.
Nothing to see here once again.
Do you think she would have done him for free?
She saw a paycheck. And that's what happened.
Do you think she would have done him for free? Yeah, whatever.
Absolutely. It's Donald Trump.
Oh, you're funny.
Have something put on your bucket list. Shit. Why not? I'd do him.
Now the truth comes out, folks. Oh, brother. Damn, it's almost been... No, it haven't. Got 48 minutes in the can. What else are we going to argue about today? What? Any ideas?
Oh, what? You got something separate you want to argue about?
Oh, no, I'm just... If you got another topic or so, we can come up, or you want to come up with, we can do that. I'm trying to think of stuff that I would I could pick a good argument with you
Well,
about.
while you're thinking, I'm just going to throw in one more point.
Oh, here we go.
Now, the prosecution said because Cohen pled guilty to the charges he did, like he pled guilty to get his little slap on the wrist, but they threw in the thing that he had to say something about Trump in the process. But anyways, they said that because Cohen is guilty, that Trump has to be guilty. And the judge said, oh, no, I'm not going to allow that in the courtroom. I'm not going to allow this bullshit. We're just going to go over the facts and whatever's here, and that's what we're going to do. So what happens? You get into, I don't know if it was during the closing arguments or whatever, and of course, what did they say? That same thing. If he's guilty, then Trump has to be guilty. And the defense obviously objected that. And of course, now the judge goes, oh, I'll allow it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. So you're once again further influencing these individuals, and you're asking them to answer questions that they really can't answer because you're not giving them the proper information that they need to make an informed choice other than the choice that you want them to make. That's the only information you're giving them. And that's, hey, the defense rests. Give me a topic. We can talk about popsicles.
And the prostitution, I'm a prosecution rests too.
I mean, I just think it was just, maybe he's guilty. Hey, it's a court of law. And maybe going through appeals will change it, but you're still going to hear from now until November, convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. They're trying to use that to, because they actually said of all the charges he has against him, this is the one that is probably the most minimal. Shouldn't see any jail time unless the judge decides to start a riot in the streets. But yeah, it's just, as I told you, when we talked before, it's been nefarious from the get-go. I mean, and then they try to give the guy a gag order. It's like, wait a minute. You won't let me defend myself in the courtroom. Can I defend? I'm not in the court. I'm in the public. I what? Because I'm during a court case, I lose my First Amendment right. When you are
issued a gag order,
speak out and disagree with somebody.
When you are issued a gag order, it's to keep the jury and all the facts contained inside the courtroom. That's what a gag order is about. And when you violate that gag order, and the judge sees that he's got the right to fine, or even if it's continuous, you can throw him in jail. That's always been that way. That's
exactly.
not for just Donald Trump.
You have to understand Trump.
That doesn't matter. That does not matter. A one iota. You're not looking at what the law says, Dale.
He's like, fuck you. I'm going to say it anyway.
The law says if there's a gag order issued, you have to go by the gag issue.
$10,000, he'll pull it out of his pocket and go, here you fucking go. But I'm going to defend myself because you won't let me. You won't let my lawyers do their job. Here, find me $10,000. I don't give a shit.
He's got lawyers.
But the American people are going to hear what you're doing in that courtroom. That's what he's doing.
There is one other comment I wanted to make, and I saw this on one of those liberal, quote-unquote, talk shows. There was a book writer that came on. Actually, I think it was Colbert, because I watch him quite a bit. He had a book writer come on, and they were talking about, he was a political book writer, and talking about this book that he wrote about the way trials were going today and this and that and the other thing. And the guy says, he says, in all my years, he says, and he was like 75 years old. He says, in all my years in the justice system and everywhere else, he says, there's always topics I can write about. He says, but if I was a book writer today, he says, there is the best thing happening for the topic of a book that that is just being laid in your hands. And he says, the fact of it is, he says, you've got an ex-president accused of hiding money to pay a prostitute and or a porn star, whatever you want to call her. And the first person to testify is a guy by the name of Pecker.
Yeah.
And I still think that's one of the funniest quotes from all of this.
Hey, I just try to keep it real because if you out here, calling Stormy a prostitute and shit, but she's a porn star and she might be suing your punk ass next. So,
you can't,
I'm a prostitute.
You can't get blood out of a turnip.
I mean, I guess when you're a porn star, you get paid to have sex, but it's in a different capacity. You're a professional.
Well,
as you say.
I've seen a lot of porn stars before, and I know they all get paid for what they do. And if they go on a tour of America, you can bet they're making their $100 or $200 shots at a time, because that's what they do.
$100 or $200 shots at a time. I bet you they make more than that. Well, I guess
sometimes they do.
I feel you.
But that's pretty much the size of that. Let's go to a little bit of a personal note here, or two. I took part in POTA last night. For everybody that doesn't know, I'm an amateur radio. In fact, both of us are amateur radio operators. I take my license and my skills a bit more serious than Dale does, but he does okay. And I actually decided to activate POTA for my club, which is Parks on the Air. And at the same time, you had ships on the air, and it was the American History Ship weekend. And there were ships from all over the country on the air, on amateur radio, making contacts and all kinds of stuff like that. I made some pretty interesting contacts. I hit the HMS Irving that was in Connecticut, I think. There was a ship in, I think the America was, I'm trying to think where that was. That was up north. That was up in New Hampshire and that. I hit another one in North Carolina that was based there, and then I hit one in Tampa Bay, and it was an interesting weekend for me. We activated the park, which activation just means that you drive into the park, you set up an antenna, or be portable out of the park and actually make contacts. It was a lot of fun. I didn't do too well because of the fact that I should have did a little more research on this antenna that I bought. I couldn't get it to tune the one band that I would have been marvelous on. But it was what it was, It was the first activation I ever did. And I've been a ham since 1991. And there's always stuff that you're learning by it. If it isn't park activations, it's doing public service. If it isn't public service, you're having a picnic. If you're not doing a picnic, you're doing field day, which is coming up till 21st.
Picnic in itself.
Yeah, that's a picnic weekend there. If you're an amateur radio operator and listening and have never done anything as far as field day, that needs to be on your bucket list because that's the most fun weekend of the whole year. You go out and you set up a bunch of antennas, you set up a bunch of radios, and you start transmitting and making contacts across the country.
And that's the thing. If you're someone that, like I did it for a few years, going to the grounds, and they're always looking for volunteers to help set up the station. That is critical to a ham radio operator, because you have these guys that are older and have been doing it for a longer time, and you're setting up antennas that you've never seen before and seeing different ways of hoisting them and getting them up in the air. And it's very much a learning experience. I used to do that. And then as far as getting on the radio and actually making contacts, I did very little with that. I had more fun with the setup. And then I would just kind of kick back and, talk to people and, either learn something, from them, or just be talking, the camaraderie and the stuff like that. It's a good time. It really is. Try it.
And that, my friend, is the reason that we do this stuff. And this is what I've been saying I wanted to do since I left that other club. I want to be part of amateur radio. I don't want to be part of a political organization. And that's what most of these things are turning into. I got no use for politics. I've always said that. I want to do stuff that amateur radio people do. And if it's setting up an antenna or acting in field day and stuff like that, that's the whole part of, that's the fun of being what I am. That's what I live for.
Well, that, and two, as I said, that I didn't talk much on the radio because, one, I didn't feel like going through all the work. You got to sit there and you got to hunt and pack and you got to find before you can talk to somebody, and it's not always easy. But my thing was having an amateur extra. I could take somebody, and as long as I was with them, allow them to do things that they weren't normally allowed to do, which, let's say they went onto a band that they weren't allowed to be on, and they made a contact. All of a sudden, they get excited. Now they want to progress their license so that they can go to other places. And that was, so to me, even though I wouldn't even be remotely considered an Elmer, I was allowing these opportunities to other people to kind of help them get a little bit more excited about what they were doing. So I could kind of stand on the sidelines and drink a beer and enjoy myself while they were just tickled pink because they could do something they weren't allowed to do. And it kind of helps further them.
And that's the fun of being an Elmer. That's the fun of being having your extra class license. The simple, just in the last year, I've probably helped 6 people get into the radio, get on the amateur radio bands, and it's a lot of fun. They taken the other thing too. We did an antenna crafting, and we crafted these little what we call tape measure beams. You take a tape measure and cut off a bunch of pieces into them because of the flex of the metal. You cut up a bunch of cut off a bunch of sections of the tape measure, measure them out, and then make them into this little Yagi beam. Well, the whole thing for the most part was a lot of fun. And then what happened is I got educated. And that, to me, when I get educated, it all goes into the back of the storage, back in the deep storage of my brain. And when I get what I got educated about was I actually had to teach somebody how to solder. Have you ever done that? What a trip that is. I did it for 2 people. I took
2 years with electricity in high school. I soldered my ass off.
I took 2 people, and we needed to put these connectors on. Like, they both told me, I don't know how to do these connectors, and I've never soldered before. So I showed them. And I put it in their hand. I said, you need to strip this back this far, strip the strip the coating off. Okay, we did that. Then you need to go over there to the solder bench and solder it here and here. Okay, we did that. And we need to come back and put the thing up through it so that it holds the braid in place. And then you got to solder the braid. Teaching that process really taught me a lot. You know, they tell you if you want to learn a subject, you volunteer to teach it, and that's the way it was with me. It's, you know, I got more enjoyment in that out of teaching those guys that thing than I could have ever got doing anything anywhere else. You know, because I'm actually expressing the learning, and the people are taking it in. And at this point, those guys could probably take and go put 1 million, or go do a couple of hundred connectors. Cool. Oh, yeah, they've learned something, and so have I. But anyway, anything else you want to argue about before we go?
I'm good. I think I spoke my piece for the day.
Yeah, I think this was.
I mean, you know,
this needed to be out. And
I just hope that there might be somebody out there that is more in agreement with you, that is listening, that would pay attention to what I have said and go, you know what? That really doesn't sound right. I know it's not really going to change things, but man, why did this happen? You know, they didn't tell me that on ABC, MSNBC, or those other news channels. They didn't tell me that shit. They told me it was just 12 jeers doing their civic duty, decided that Donald Trump was guilty, but don't know all the in-betweens of what happened and what went on. And I hope that, you know, hey, maybe they take something from it. Maybe they think I'm full of shit. It doesn't matter.
We all know that.
You know, if I can reach one person and make them stop and go, maybe I need to look into this a little bit more and make sure that what Dale's saying isn't bullshit. Maybe I need to take a peek and see if I can find some of this same information that he's speaking about. And then I've done my job.
Isn't that the idea of the show? To show different viewpoints and make people go,
Why I took this one a little bit more seriously. You talk about the Facebook, you know, I'm not, you know, don't get it serious. But, you know, now he's getting down to brass tacks, you know. I mean,
I knew this was coming eventually. And as I said, Dale is the only person that I plan on discussing any of this with. So don't come up to me on the street, or don't take and get me on Facebook, or don't come into one of my shows thinking that you're going to take and just continue this topic, because it's not going to happen. I'll put a kibosh to it right off.
Oh, it's like a little bit of backstory.
Yeah.
We've argued, you know, politics. We've argued religion. We've argued unions, especially, because I'm a big. I understand unions, but there's a lot of parts of unions that I don't really agree with, and we've had many and many disagreement on that and the other subjects.
We should do that. We should do that as a segment here. We should do it as a.
But the difference is how you handle the situation. Him and I can be, excuse my language, motherfucking each other for 2 hours. I can get this man. You haven't heard his high-pitched voice yet. When he really gets pissed that he gets that high-pitched voice, I do the same damn thing. But his is actually funny. And when I get that out, I get entertained. But you know what? We can pick up the telephone and talk to each other the next day or 15 or 20 minutes later, and okay, that was your opinion, that was my opinion. Okay,
and
let's move
folks,
on.
I'm going to tell you the truth. It wasn't always that way.
I can't be friends with you because you disagree with me. That's fucking stupid. Because the whole world disagrees with you. I mean, somebody out there doesn't believe what you believe. And it's how you handle it.
Yep. So anyway, like I said, we won't, this will be the only place you'll hear me talk politics and really let it fly. And if, like I said, what I expect from all the viewers and you and everybody else is that you respect my opinion. That's all. With that, I think we can go ahead and wrap this up for today. This has been a fun hour. It went quick.
It did.
So we will probably catch you in 2 weeks. We got to do the union segment.
Oh, hey, we
Okay.
if we're changing the time, we need to let people know.
Oh, this is true. We are going to, for at least a month, we're going to air on Monday nights at 8:00. We decided this, the show we had on there has decided to go on hiatus for a month until the sports gets back. And once it does, then we probably do another program change. But right at this point, Dale and I will be on, what's the date of that? 2 weeks from now, Monday.
Give me a second. Okay, 6/2, 1, 2. That would actually be the 17th.
Okay, well.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the 17th at 8 p.m. because I'd like to see what this does in prime times. With that, Mr. Dale, I will see you next week or in a couple of weeks. Probably talk to you long before that. Tell your wife I said hello. And,
she ain't here. Book club day.
It figures. She's always off on something like that.
They call it book club. It's a bunch of girls getting together, doing their thing, and probably they spend 5 minutes talking about the book, and then the rest of the time, the other 2-3 hours, they spend just talking about us.
And scratching.
Pretty much.
Anyway, we will catch everybody in 2 weeks on Monday, and have a good week.
America!
Said she would be down